All right, guys. So today we're gonna be loading some TSS shotgun shells, 12 gauge, 3-inch for my buddy. He shot most of his last year, had a good season, so we're gonna load some more today. We got number 7 shot is what he usually uses, so I'm gonna load 3 of them in number 7s, and then I'm gonna load one in 9 shot. Just because I think we're going to do another TSS testing video. So we'll see how these rounds that I hand load stack up against the store-bought stuff. I'm going to get started on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut these Mylar wraps to fit inside of these wads here. What you want it to look like is this. So the Mylar is perfectly inside of this shot cup. So that's just going to keep everything together, hopefully prevent any kind of dings on the barrel and choke as it goes out. So as you can see, when you put these in here straight from the reloading shop where I bought them, they're a little long. They're made for the 3.5-inch cups. So for these 3-inch cups, we got to cut them down some. I've done it quite a bit. It's about a 1/4 inch off of each side to get it perfect. I don't really worry about if I cut it straight or not. It'll fit in there. A little bit shorter is better. So get that slid down in there. And now you can see it's flush across the top for the most part. So I'm going to get those put together, and I'll get back with you when we start actually loading the shells. All right, so the next step here is measuring out the powder. I take the powder out of the big jug. You get it from the store. We're using a little gun here. And then I put it into an old empty 3-inch shell. Just makes it easier for me to pour out the powder into the onto the scale without, makes it just a lot easier to get it precise, because this is probably the most important part, or the most dangerous part, I guess, if you get them overloaded. So I just pour it into this little shotgun shell, and it makes it easier for me to tap it out of there and get the more precise grains, and I don't have to go back and forth, trying to pour it out of that big jug and then pouring it back into the big jug. So this just makes it easier for me. It's a little cheat. You could probably have 2 of these little things and do the same thing. Pour it into one and then use the one that you have full to pour it into the other one. But I'm going to get to it. I'm going to go ahead and put powder in all 4 of these. These are going to be 3-inch shells. So, all right, so we got powder in all those. Next thing we're going to use are these little pressure cups. So these are going to go over top the powder and then underneath the wad. They got a nice little groove on the top of them. So the wad just kind of sets on there. So that way you know which way they go in. Easiest way to tell it is the wide side goes down, and then the smaller ring goes up. So I'm going to put these in here. Got a little dowel rod I use to push them down with, and that's the next step. All right, we got all those put in there pretty quick and easy. So next step's going to be throwing the wad down in there. Inside of the wad, I'm putting the Mylar, but I'm also putting a piece of felt. It's 20 gauge size, 1/4 inch felt pieces. So these are going to go on the bottom of the wad, or in the bottom of the shot cup part of the wad. So just take those, push them down in there. Usually you can find something laying around and push them down all the way, but I usually just push them down with my finger all the way into the bottom of the shot cup there. And then that's just going to give you the right spacing. Since the TSS weighs a lot more than lead does, it doesn't take up the entire shot cup. So I'm going to get those jammed down in there. Let's see, I just used one of these little turkey bones I got sitting here. You just want to get that jammed down in there, make sure it's flat. you're basically just taking up space in the shot cup with these felt pads, and the 20 gauge felt fits right down in there. So kind of a perfect little scenario. That way when you put your shot in there, it's not super low and you don't have to use a ton of filler. This little piece of felt on the bottom of the wad is going to take up that extra space. So the next thing I'm going to do, turn my scale back on. Make sure I am zeroed out, and then switch it from grains to ounces. And then these are going to be pretty heavy duty loads, so we're going to be measuring out 2 1/4 ounce of number 7 shot. Not too many there, so pull them out. That's 2.252, so that's good enough. So next step, throw a wad down in the shell there, take our shot, pour a shot in the shell, and then in another one of these little shotgun shells, I have the buffer in there. Some guys say to like pour half your shot in, then pour your buffer in. I just pour the buffer in and then just tap it. These have like quite a bit of an extra lip on them. I'll have to shave them down since I'm roll crimping them. So, but it makes it easier for me to just put this buffer in and then just tap it down. So I'll pour a little bit of the buffer in there and then just tap it on the workbench here. I usually just tap it until I can start seeing the shot come through on the top. When it's about a 50-50 mix of buffer and shot, I don't know if you guys can see in there, but when it's about a 50-50 mix of buffer and shot, that's when I'll stop kind of bouncing it there. Then our little paper toppers, throw one of those on there, push it down, use my dowel rod. I like to get it nice and tight set in there, that way your shells don't rattle and they're not all loose and banging around. And I feel like that helps that buffer to stay throughout the shot column, because if this is just rattling around in your bag or in your vest or whatever, you know, that buffer is going to be shifting around in there as that shot moves around. So I like to get it as tight as I possibly can. And then I'll trim this down, and then I'll use my drill press here to roll crimp it. So I got this nice little vise here, just clamps one shell at a time. Turn my drill press on, and then I take one of these old shells right here that I've been, you know, putting the buffer in or the powder, and then I'll just stick it in there and just get that dye heated up. That way it's not super cold. Friction heat there. Our dye out here. Vise. I'll start the crimp, and then I'll switch sides. I get a nice clean roll all the way around on those. And then how you know you got a shotgun shell from me or one that I loaded is I take my little turkey stamp here. I put a turkey on the top of it. And that's how you know that the shell was loaded by me. I put these little stamps on there. And then I'll seal it with a little bit of clear nail polish around the top, just so none of that stuff inside gets wet through that little paper topper. So that's it. I'm gonna do the rest of these here, but that's how easy it is to get one loaded. I think it cost me about $6 a shell to load them myself, which is significantly cheaper than the, I think 12 gauge 3 inches are probably around $9 a piece. Some of the 3.5s are getting into that $12 a piece. I think a friend of mine went and bought some the other day. So to me, this just makes more sense. Obviously, it's more upfront cost to buy all the parts and to load these shells, and hard to find powder sometimes. But once you get all the stuff, they're significantly cheaper to load yourself versus buying in the store. If you want to see this shotgun shell get shot, well, probably not this one because it's a 7, but if you want to see the number 9 I'm loading get shot, go over to my buddy's channel, Sunburnt Sportsman, and check that video out.